Hi again, welcome to the second Behrman video blog. Today I'm going to talk about instances and raid bosses, and raiding in general. Now, I played World of Warcraft for 5 years, and, for those that don't know, I actually started playing World of Warcraft because I wanted to investigate how they did things and see what the secret to their success was. Mainly because I didn't want to try and mimic it too much, because I didn't want to be accused of doing things or just making a WoW clone. And I'm really kind of sensitive about that when it comes to other games as well. I purposely avoid looking into most MMO projects these days because I want to have that plausible deniability of saying, I never touched that game, so I have no idea what it's even about. Or how they did that, and if I happen to do things the same way, then it's a matter of, well, great minds think alike, rather than, I copied them because I saw them doing it and I thought it was a good idea. The thing about raiding that people need to understand, and if you have never raided, this is going to be new, shocking, but if you have raided, you'll understand this. Raiding puts incentives into the game to be a dick. Raiding makes people elitist. The dynamic that you see in World of Warcraft is basically this. In order to have any decent gear, you have to get it off of raid bosses. They've designed it that way so that it actually really starts with the fact that all of the stats that you have is gear-based. Your character does not have the stats when naked. I mean, your stats are essentially entirely based on, you have like 10% of your stats are your base stats, and then the other 90% are all from the gear that you are wearing. And they've set up that system so that you can get basic gear by doing regular dungeons or buying it from vendors or crafting it yourself, but that is the most basic gear that you have available. So in order to get better gear, you have to go out and do raids. In order to do raids, you have to, first of all, have the starting gear in order to do the basics, but you basically are forced into a combat role. Even if you're a healer, you're still forced into a role where you are having to work together in a team environment in order to beat a raid boss. And that's not for everybody. And, the most hardcore of the raiders will be doing this 4 or 5 nights a week. And it's really cutthroat and very elitist. And if you don't do things in the proper cookie-cutter fashion, if you don't know the raid encounters and know when to step left or step right, or when to interrupt, or when massive incoming, it's all scripted. It's so formulaic that if you don't know the formulas to each and every raid boss, then you're not going to succeed. And they do that on purpose to make it difficult to achieve that pinnacle, and I don't have a problem with that. I understand that, and in fact, I really got upset when they would nerf things in order to make it so that everyone could see the content. But it's kind of like they set themselves up to fail. Blizzard did. They set themselves up to fail with this, where it's like, let's make it really difficult to be the best, but then require people to do all this stuff, and it's just you see the chain there. Stats aren't on the character, they're on the gear. The gear has to be awesome in order for you to be awesome. So you can't get the gear unless you go out and be awesome in a raid with 9 other people or 24 other people. And only then it's a chance that you might get the drop, and if it does drop, then it's what you have to compete with other people for it. So it's every man for himself. They're setting up all of these incentives through what I would call a tragic or catastrophic chain of decisions that went a certain way. And It is what it is. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done it this way. It's just that's the way they do things. But it's not the way I want to do things in Vermint. First of all, what happens when you have all of the stats the character uses on the gear, other than making them go out and get better gear by killing things? Well, you totally destroy any sort of economy of crafting. The crafters, the blacksmiths out there, the people who train up leatherworking or tailoring or these other gear creation crafts, how are they to have any sort of profession? Now, in most games, the profession is just a secondary thing that to the game. The main part of the game is going out and killing things, and that's very obviously indicated by the fact that they call these high-end raids endgame raids, because that is the ultimate pinnacle of the game, is to go and defeat these final raid bosses in combat. But what if you only want to play the game to be that blacksmith or that weaponsmith or tailor or leatherworker or something? Your entire game is ruined by the fact that you can't sell your stuff because people are getting gear drops out of dungeons and dungeon bosses and raid bosses that are better than yours. It's also ruined by the fact that once you have that on your person, these extra special rare drops that take a lot of effort to get, they are soul bound to you, so even when you die, you don't lose them. So you don't have to go back and get it again. Now, change two things in that paradigm. Well, a couple things. One, your stats are on your character, not on your gear. Two, raid bosses don't drop gear. They really don't. Or, world bosses or mobs, they don't really drop that much gear, per se. I anticipate people killing mobs that don't drop anything. But they're killing them not because they want the gold, but because they're protecting themselves from these mobs attacking them. So, changing that incentive structure as well is very important. And you'll notice a lot of these ideas have to do with the psychology of why we do things. Why do you go out and kill things? Well, to be honest with you, most games make you into a psychopath. You go out and kill mob after mob after mob for gold. You're nothing but a swashbuckling pirate at that point. You're a murderous, rampaging. What did they ever do to you? It's not like they're leaving that camp ever, to come and attack your town. No, they're minding their own business. You come into their home and you kill them. For what? For gold. They're not really a threat. Oh, I want to get levels in gold, so I'm going to go do this quest where they're asking me to kill these mobs. But the mobs never actually attack you. They don't pose a threat. Anyway, so it's not about the killing, and it's not about the gold acquisition. It's about your own self-preservation. So now the other paradigms to change are there's no more soul-bound stuff. You die, your body is there with all your stuff on it. Now, it's not going to take like 2 seconds for someone to grab and loot all of your stuff off your corpse. There's not going to be an auto-loot feature. Trust me. It's going to take time, just like it would take time to get dressed, it's going to take time to undress a corpse and take their armor off of them. It's going to take time to look through a backpack and see everything in it in order to decide what to take. And with the inventory system being what it is, you're not going to be able to grab everything that they own without becoming way encumbered and not being able to move because you have too much stuff. So there's that. But imagine you die, you're unable to get back to your corpse in time, it gets destroyed, or all your items are lost. Okay, go buy more from the local merchants. Or have a stockpile of them in your home. And I anticipate in this game everyone is going to have a place. Even if it's just a barracks with a footlocker that's locked to you. Or, I don't like bank boxes. I'd rather have a barracks or an inn where you can have a room and you have your footlocker, even if the room is shared by 30 people, where you log out. That footlocker would be something you access for yourself. Anyway, so you don't have to go kill mobs and kill raid bosses to get gear. You practice them up on your character, so you remove the necessity of getting good gear from killing things. But you could even get good gear from just the local merchants where you buy it or have it provided to you. You can craft it yourself. If you're out there as an archer, you might want to have a bow crafting skill that's pretty high, so you can craft your own bows. You might want to be a lumberjack as well to get your own wood for it, so you can gather your own resources to replenish your own stock of arrows and such. It's all very different from what people are used to, and this is what I'm finding is intriguing about talking to people about this game. I try and explain these concepts to people, and they get locked into this World of Warcraft mentality of, but if there's no stats on the gear, how will I ever get better? What will the raid bosses drop? Well, there's not going to be raid bosses. There's not going to be world bosses even. There will be difficult mobs. There will be, very difficult mobs, but they're not going to be unique. It's not going to be like a named mob of this guy is the Lord Demon over all demons or something like that. No, or a lieutenant or something. No, there's going to be, hey, this is a really tough demon. He's a super demon, or whatever. And he's just one of 100 across the world right now. And you kill him, another one will spawn somewhere. Maybe right next to a town that you live in. And maybe it's going to take the entire town to kill it. Because that's one thing I really don't want to ever have happen. First of all, there's no instances, no instancing, no segregation of one party from another killing the same mobs in the same zone or same area. It's not going to be combat balanced around where you have this raid boss who has a certain number of hit points, does a certain amount of damage that is specified towards people with a certain amount of gear, a certain number of people, like 10 or 25. No, it's going to be, this guy's really difficult. Maybe one guy can take him down on his own. One guy who's like really well geared. But there's no reason why 30 freshly made characters couldn't gang up on the guy, and yeah, maybe 29 of them will die, but that last guy will get that killing blow on him before he dies himself. This is what the Siege of Vermund is all about. There's a reason why there's no instances, and that's because the mobs aren't sequestered off into their own realms and their own dungeons. They're coming after you. They're coming to your city. They're coming to your village. They're going to try and take over that mining village that you've set up. They're going to try and scale the walls of the city that you've helped build. They're going to try to destroy what you have created. And that's why they need to be destroyed themselves. And if there's 300 little imp type of things coming at you, and interspersed inside those 300 of them are, 50 big demons driving them, with one uber demon in the back that's commanding the 50 on how to do it. I mean, that's, 351 mobs all assaulting a city at the same time? That's not going to be an instance. That's going to be an actual world event, where people will be like, oh my god, the city's under attack! Everyone log on, help defend the city! And, you're going to have people, you're going to have the local bowcrafter saying, okay, normally I charge for arrows, but here, take 50, kill 50 things with them. And it's not going to be like, elites where it takes a group of 5 people to take down one thing. No, you're going to be an archer on the top of that wall in that city, firing one arrow at one mob and hitting it in the head, and it'll go tumbling down to the ground dead. And you find another target and you shoot that one next. And you find another target and you shoot that one next. One arrow, one kill, like a sniper. One shot, one kill. So I hope that gives you some insight into how this game is planned on being.